welcome. The meeting is just going on. We'll continue in about 45 minutes with a working lunch with a new special guest, Victoria Nuland, Assistant Secretary of State from the United States. This is now, as you see, a special format of what we call Visegrad Plus. Each time we start with the four of us, four foreign ministers, and then, of course, we continue in an enlarged circle. One might say in a kind of concentric circles manner. And we always try to be flexible and inclusive. The formats are variable. This year we have special guests such as Turkey, Austria. Of course, we invited the presidency, the foreign minister of Lithuania, Linas Linkevičius, and we also have the honor and the pleasure to have Stefan Füle with us, the Commissioner for Enlargement and Neighborhood Policy. And, of course, we invited the Western Balkans countries, 6 countries, all of them so-called aspirants for EU membership. We all know that they are on different stages in their process of integration, but they all have the same objective and the same aspiration. The purpose of this meeting is essentially, if I had to sum it up in 1 or 2 words, is to lend support for the Western Balkan countries, for the aspirant countries in their efforts to exceed the European Union. We know that this is a complex and a long exercise, and we believe that we 4 countries here have a very special responsibility, or indeed a historic mission. That is what we want to comply with, and that's why it is already the 5th time that we 4 organize this meeting together with the Western Balkan countries. So the V4, we very frequently say that have a lot of common interests. We have a lot of common objectives, aspirations. We always say we have lots in common. Now, one of our common objectives and common interests is precisely the successful conclusion of the reunification of Europe, which we also call the enlargement process. We have a fundamental strategic interest here, but also we have, I would add, a historic mission and responsibility as well. My good friend Miroslav Lajčák said just a couple of minutes before that V4 is perfectly placed to support the enlargement process and the achievement of the objectives of the Western Balkan countries. And so we all agree on that. The basic question is how shall we do it? And what concrete steps and measures can be taken in order to promote this process. Now, one thing is, of course, that we give full political support. This political support is reflected, I would say, quite well in our joint statement, which we issued, or we issue now. The language of this statement is quite clear. The V4 countries demonstrated their strong and continuous support for maintaining the momentum of the enlargement process. We underlined that there is a mutual interest on both sides, that is on EU side and the aspirant country side. We pointed out the stabilizing effect and the, what is now called more and more, the transformative power of this enlargement process, and so on. And we also refer to some concrete questions with respect to the enlargement process. I don't want to go into all the details, but for instance, with respect to Serbia, we just say that we don't think that the negotiation framework should include so-called new conditions. So even on these concrete issues, we have common positions. At the same time, we underline the importance of the local elections in Kosovo on the 3rd of November, that is in 2 or 3 days. And we also called the attention to the significance of the participation, that is the turnout rate in that election. Now, more concretely, the V4 is, of course, in a good position to share our experiences of transition and also of European integration. We also underline the fact that regional cooperation is extremely important in order to achieve stability, prosperity, and genuine reconciliation in the region. Quite humbly, we might also say, as we say it now as well, that the Visegrad cooperation itself could serve as a model for regional cooperation. As you know, we started it more than 20 years ago in a very informal manner. No institutional structures have been established. Then we established a fund, which we call the Visegrad Fund. Originally, the amount, if I remember correctly, was 2 million euros. Each country contributed 500,000. It's not a huge amount of money, especially if you compare it with the cohesion policy resources of the European Union. But now it's 8 million. It's just been increased by the Prime Ministers a couple of weeks ago from 7 to 8 million. And of course, we have lots of interesting and important projects to finance relevant for the people. Now, that's exactly what we propose, for instance, now for the Western Balkan countries. Establish a fund. We could be helpful. By the way, we also finance Western Balkans projects from our fund. But the best would be to establish an own fund of the Western Balkans country. We can, of course, supply the know-how, and we can give any other assistance. Now, this is just an example. Many other things are also going on. We develop now the V4 Western Balkans Expert Network on rule of law and fundamental rights to promote the reform process. And also we provide technical assistance in the field of public administration and in other areas. So, quite briefly, we want to be helpful. We want to promote the integration process in that sense as well of the Western Balkans countries. I'm not going to get into the details of the enlargement process. Maybe, of course, Commissioner could tell us or tell you more about that. you probably know that the progress report of the European Commission came out a couple of days ago with very, very positive approach, very objective assessments and some important recommendations, which hopefully will be followed by the European Council. But the most important thing is that the train is moving. Some might say that it's not moving fast enough. Some might say that it's moving too fast. But for us, for the V4, the main point is that the train is moving, and we will make all possible efforts also in the future that the reunification process should not be stopped, and it should be taken forward. Thank you.